Da Vinci's Demons, you're taking a man who I think everyone is familiar with, of course, by his name and some of the most famous things, but definitely illuminating different sides of him. What's it like taking such a famous, faceted person and saying, here's things you don't know about him?
Well, Da Vinci is one of the most recognizable figures in the world, and yet there are a lot of things people don't know about Da Vinci. When they think about Da Vinci, they think about the old guy with a beard that painted the Mona Lisa and The Last Supper. But the truth is, he had a crazy life. He spent most of his life supporting himself as a war engineer. He's always been steeped in secret society and mystery. He was known to be ambidextrous, a very good swordsman, a very good horseman, and there were also there's a period of missing years in his life from the time he was 27 to 32, and much of our show covers that gap.
And Lara, can you talk about your character and how you play into the whole Da Vinci?
This is Lara Pulver, who plays Clarice Orsini, and
married to the legendary Lorenzo Medici. So we are kind of the faces of Florence, and I have left kind of my family in Rome and controversially married into the Medici family. And
you said you were kind of like the Renaissance era Hillary Clinton,
in the sense that she's the devoted wife and the supporter,
so kind of the secret power behind the throne,
and also this, yeah, well, of course, she's the woman.
And what is her dynamic like with Da Vinci himself?
She's a challenge for Da Vinci, I think, in a sense, because there's the status difference. Obviously, you know, we don't celebrate artists back then in the same way we do now. They're working class folk. He's a bastard child, so he's just not treated with the same kind of credentials.
She's royalty.
Yeah, in that sense, and I think he can't win her over by just wooing her. She's a challenge of mind, and she's also devoted to her husband. And I think she sees how he can forward her family, and Florence as a city. So I'd say they're probably like of mind.
When we pick up the story, Florence, which was actually a city-state, was in a brewing conflict with Rome, a famous conflict. And neither of them had standing armies. Rome ultimately hired a private army, and Florence needed military might, and that's, as the show begins, Da Vinci kind of
fills that niche.
Yeah, wiggles his way into the Medici court and says, hey, I've got this design for what turned out to be the machine gun. And
he becomes an invaluable asset to
he becomes
Florence.
the war engineer, and that's initially sort of the starting point for the show.
This question was asked during the panel, but it was an interesting answer you had, which is, what can you say about how fantastical or not fantastical this show might be?
Without giving too much away, that's kind of the whole thesis of the show, Da Vinci's Demons. It's not just metaphorical, and we're going to be sort of riding that bleeding edge between things that are going to happen in the show, and we're not going to be quite sure if it was a supernatural cause or if there might be a scientific explanation for it. And when the show begins, Da Vinci doesn't really believe in the supernatural. He's a scientist, he's an empiricist, but things will start to happen in the show that make
Even
it...
he needs to question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes it harder for him to just explain away.
The footage we saw gave some hints that on the visceral side, whether it be some of the battles and perhaps some of the sexuality, the show will not be holding back. Would that be safe to say?
We've not shied away from anything in that sense. Nothing's kind of
We're not
off
pulling
limits.
any punches. It's a nice, big, meaty, non-censored show. Yeah, we just showed a clip to about 500 people. They're the first people to really see anything from the show. Yeah. Including our lovely cast members. I wish people could have freeze framed because there were some cool little Easter eggs in what we showed, but it went by pretty quick.